All right. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon or good morning if you're out west. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in and saying hi in the chat, letting us know where you are. Always helps to gain an understanding of, kind of who we have in the group. We have a lot of people from all over the country, which is awesome. I love it seeing people from Montreal, Kelowna, up in Northern Ontario. A lot of Raptors fans, Sandra.
Nice.
Who would have thought?
Nice.
Who would have thought?
Nobody.
It's like this chat's turning into Jurassic Park. But yeah, we're going to get started in just a moment. I just want to run through a few little housekeeping items for everybody. So give me a second here. Let me pull up my screen. And the first thing I want to talk about, especially in this webinar, now Sandra's going to share her screen on her phone and stuff like that. There are times when you might say, hey, the image is a little bit blurry. So this is really important for you guys. Click the gear at the bottom right of that YouTube. You can change the quality. Now, if you're having issues, if there's buffering, I know sometimes agents who will do these webinars in the bullpen in their office, and so you might have to turn that up and down to try to get it to work properly. But this is a big one for you guys. If you leave it on auto quality, sometimes people say, I can't see the screens. So be sure to know how to change the quality of your YouTube video. Next, if you experience any buffering at all, best thing to do is just refresh your browser. We do these webinars via YouTube Live because it's easy to refresh. You can pull it up on your phone. You can pull it up on any device. It's YouTube, right? So you can do that. You can real quickly refresh if something goes wrong or something happens. Finally, love the chat. Love you guys asking questions. We have a great opportunity to ask questions. I'm going to answer those questions. I'm going to ask Sandra those questions near the end of the webinar, but love seeing the chat going on. Thanks so much to everybody who is chatting. It helps us feel like, we're really speaking. Otherwise, it's just Sandra and I having a conversation.
Which is okay too. I mean, I love having conversations with you, Mike.
You don't call me Sandra. No, I'm just kidding.
Later.
So with that said, it is 2:00. And let's get our webinar started. Instagram, increase your organic reach. Obviously, really excited for this. This is something that I know a lot of people have asked about. This is something that when Sandra proposed to me this topic, got to watch out how I put that sentence. I was like, yes, we got to do that. We got to do that as soon as possible because a lot of people are asking about it. And in terms of that, for you guys, for anybody who was with our last webinar where Sandra talked about, digital signatures. Obviously, you've seen some of this, but when we did that webinar, the reception was, I'll tell you, Sandra, even I had people back here at the office for weeks telling me like, that was an awesome webinar. I was like, I didn't do anything, but thanks. Like Sandra did all the heavy lifting. I was just like there. So, but people really loved it, and I'm really excited to have you back. And as you can see on the slide here, 13 years in the real estate industry, where she really developed a true passion for many aspects of the industry. She actually started as an unofficial mentor in her branch in Oakville, Ontario, and developed a strong reputation as a knowledgeable resource for best practices and an emerging industry leader. And if you follow her, if you see her on Facebook, if you're friends with her, if maybe after that last webinar you went and found her on there, you'll see she's really, really active on social and often provides a lot of insight. And that comes from her successful terms as the director of OMDREB. And she's currently actually sitting at a term as director of the Mississauga Real Estate Board. Right, Sandra?
Yes.
In 2017, she actually moved into a more formal leadership role when she accepted a position as a managing broker with the branch of Roller Page Real Estate Services in Mississauga. And she's found her professional calling. And what she's doing with us today is learning, sharing, coaching, inspiring what she does in her office. She's actually just extending that out to the Royal LePage Network. So I want to welcome Sandra, and thank you so much for being here, Sandra, to share your knowledge of Instagram with everybody in the chat.
It's funny how that intro gives me butterflies in my stomach, but I wrote it. But it's really nice coming from you, even though I wrote it. So thanks.
Well, I'll say, you and I have known each other for a while, and I like I said, the feedback from the last webinar has been super positive. I was super excited of the last one, and now I'm even like more excited for this one. So,
well, you set the bar really high, so now I'm super nervous. But thanks. You know how much I love doing this. Good afternoon or good morning, everybody, depending on where you are in our beautiful nation. I was super excited when Mike and I decided that I was going to run a demo on Instagram. I really want to start off by saying, first of all, how much I appreciate that all of you guys want to increase your exposure on social media. I think that that's awesome. It is definitely the way of the future. Obviously, it's here to stay. Any of those old curmudgeons from the early to mid 90s that said that social media was a fad are probably rolling in their graves at this point. So obviously, it's here to stay, and it continues to increase in engagement and in positivity and in lead generation, and most importantly, in giving your potential customer, your potential client, a really true insight into how trustworthy you are and how honest you are and how dedicated to your career you are. So I'm hoping that this webinar will give those of you that have experimented a little bit with Instagram but still feel really overwhelmed as to how it's meant to be used, and how you can really use it to increase your business and increase your productivity. Maybe some comfort in knowing that it's okay to explore, knowing that it's okay to, maybe have a post or 17 posts in a row that flop. That's okay. This really is experimental for all of us, even those people that are self-proclaimed Instagram experts. It's still experimental for them. Audiences change so quickly. It's always, this constantly moving flow of people that are dropping off and coming on, and everybody's different. And, what works for me on Instagram shouldn't be what works for you on Instagram. So if you're looking for a paint by numbers or a do this, and you're going to have a ton of followers and get a whole bunch of business from Instagram, you're probably never going to find a webinar that's going to do that for you, because that process simply doesn't exist. But I'm hoping that I can give you some tips to gain some confidence, feel really good about what you're doing on social media, and just feel okay with exploring and experimenting and dropping a couple of posts out there and seeing what kind of engagement you're getting back. So that's the goal for today. Hopefully that's not disappointing for any of you guys watching today. So Mike, you've got some more people that are commenting and saying where they're from. Where is everybody from today? How many Ontario Raptors fans do we have?
Oh my, it's just been coming in pretty quick. But looking at the recent ones, Milton, Burlington, Niagara Falls, Coquitlam, Vancouver, the Sunshine Coast of BC, Alan Stewart out there, of course, Pinder from Royal LePage Meadowtown, in Mississauga. Who else do we have? Oh my God, Etobicoke, Clarkson, Toronto. We got West Toronto, Guelph. Let's see, the Montreal. I'll give the Montreal folks they tune in early, and they're very happy to say hi. I love it. They're always some of the first people. There were some people actually on this webinar before we joined. Yeah, bonjour tout le monde. Kelowna, Laval, Quebec, Guelph, Sudbury, Hudson, Winnipeg, Moncton. There's a lot of sunshines too. A lot of people seem to be saying weather's really nice, which, I mean, again,
finally.
Yeah, but it puts more pressure on us. If the weather's crummy outside, it's easy to be here doing a webinar.
That's true. That's true. So hopefully we'll retain you guys at least for the first 45 minutes.
Or at least if they're in a basement with windows closed, they can't see outside. They don't know what they're missing.
Yes. I love talking and I love engaging. So as we're moving through this, even now, if you have any questions that you want us to answer, write them in the chat. Mike knows that he's more than welcome to interrupt me as I continue to drone on monotonously over the next hour, that he can interrupt me to clarify anything that I'm saying or ask me any questions. So feel free to type whatever you want in the chat. I'll also provide some ways to get in touch with me at the end of the webinar. So if anybody wants to reach out to me directly, you're more than welcome to. I'm more than happy to talk privately with any of you guys after this. So with that being said, Mike, do you want me to share my screen and get started?
Yeah, let's get going. All
right, let's do it. Clicky click.
Hey,
all right. So hopefully everybody can see that. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Oh yeah. I can see it. If I can see it, they can see it.
Okay, and I'll all right. So 7 minutes past 2 o'clock. Let's get started. Instagram with me, Sandra Kirkland, managing broker of Royal LePage Real Estate Services Limited. So the first thing that I really want to drive home, if you guys get nothing out of this webinar except for this, I want you to remember these two very, very important things. And these are foolproof rules. If there is anything that is paint by numbers on Instagram or on social media at large, it's these two things. Firstly, do not post and run. So imagine that you've got a room full of people, and all of these people are the people that follow you on Instagram, and they're all in a room together, and they're all sort of mingling and chilling about and, checking out everybody else and sort of eyeing everybody else up. And you have an opportunity to come in and post or say something that everybody is going to hear. The last thing that you want to do is run in, shout something really quickly, and then hightail it out of the room. because they're probably going to have questions. They're probably going to want to talk a little bit more about some of the things that you've had to say in that short little announcement that you've made. So by no means should you be posting and running. If you're going to take the time to write a post, chill out for a little while, hang around, make sure that you're coming back in on a regular basis to see who's liked the post, who's dropped a heart for you, especially on Instagram, who's dropped a heart, that's what they're doing. Who's commented. If somebody has commented, make sure that you're commenting back to them. If you don't want to comment back publicly, then make sure that you're sending them an email or a text or giving them a call to talk to them about the comment that they left for you. They took time out of their scrolling time to write something to you or to drop a heart for you, and it's worthwhile for you to acknowledge that and thank them for that. Set reminders. If social media isn't something that you're already doing all day and every day anyway, make sure that you set a reminder for yourself at a time that you know that you're not going to be busy. Have a quick thing pop up in your phone that says, hey, time to check your social media channels. Pop in, take a look at your notifications. Take some time to reply to these people, because again, that's the best way to increase your following and your engagement, and effectively your conversion rate for new clients is by engaging with the people that you're engaging with. Secondly, in the same vein, don't scroll and run. So we're all guilty of sitting down in front of the TV in the evening and opening up Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram and just scrolling through what people have posted. And, show of hands, if you feel like you're confident enough to let me know in the comments, how many of you will just sit there and scroll, and very rarely will you drop a like or a heart, or let alone write a comment or reach out to somebody privately? How many of you guys just scroll and don't otherwise engage with your database? I was having a conversation with a realtor friend of mine in the Oakville region in the last couple of days, who said that that's what she does. She just scrolls her feeds and she doesn't really know what to type, and she doesn't really know what to heart. And she feels like she's maybe putting too much of herself out there if she drops a heart, and that can be a hard hurdle to get past. So, Mike, do we have a lot of those people that are coming out of the woodwork?
Well, the challenge with this, Sandra, is you're asking the people who don't interact, who don't engage, to interact and engage. So they're just going to sit back and go, well, I'm not going to type something. I don't want to reveal. But Jen Hoffman from Royal LePage Triland insisted that not at all for her. So the other ones are saying, no, I'm good.
That's great. But you're absolutely right. There's probably a lot of you watching that are like, yeah, maybe that's me, and I don't really feel comfortable saying that because it's not my nature. That's okay. But listen, again, imagine yourself in a room full of potential clients who are all talking about themselves. You as their potential service provider in the real estate industry aren't just going to want to walk into that room, be a wallflower for a couple of hours, maybe kind of sneakily give somebody a thumbs up from the other side of the room, and then leave without talking to anybody. We're in the business of being social, and that can be a variety of definitions to a variety of people. It doesn't mean go out and be the life of the party, but it certainly does mean making your audience and your customer base know that you care about them and that you're concerned about them, and that you appreciate their successes. So you have to try and find a way to come out of your shell and give support, accolades, and congratulations for some of the things that your audience is posting online. There's no harm in this. You're not going to look weird or creepy. It's not going to be invasive. These people have put this information on the internet and allowed you to see it because they want the support and the accolades and the congratulations. That makes everybody feel good. So be that person that makes other people feel good by, at the very least, on Instagram, you can double tap a picture in your feed and it will automatically drop a heart or a like on that particular post. And there's no harm in that, right, Mike?
No, and so we've got the spectrum now in the chat from some people who said, you know what, I sometimes do. And then other people who are like, maybe I drop too many hearts and comments. But, like we discussed before the webinar, there's no limit to the amount of likes and hearts you could have. You know what I mean? So what's the harm? If you see something that you really like, double tap it, right?
Yeah, there is absolutely no harm. There is nothing to lose. You're never going to offend somebody by dropping a heart. Now, with that being said, if you're the type of person that's hearting everything, and you can heart absolutely everything, and you should. I know many Instagram gurus that will systematically go through every single post multiple times a day and make sure that they're acknowledging in some way almost every post on their feed that they're able to. So if you find yourself just hearting or double tapping or liking or dropping a reaction, if we're talking about Facebook, for example, then try and bring yourself out of your shell a little bit more and write some comments. The comments are there for everybody to see, and people do appreciate them. So if somebody's announcing a pregnancy or a new baby, or their child has graduated from university, or they've gotten a new car or something like that, write a comment. Congratulations, way to go. How did you get to this decision of this car that you wanted to buy? And whatever it is that they're doing, even if, heaven forbid, somebody has just broadcasted that they bought a house and gasp, it wasn't with you, congratulate them anyway. Because the best thing that we can do in our roles as service providers, in our role as realtors, is to make sure that people always feel like that you are approachable and that they are supported and encouraged to do better in their lives. Whatever you do in your Instagram habits moving forward in the future, make sure that you keep this in your mind all the time. And like I said, down here at this point here, set reminders if it helps you. One of the worst things you can do, like geo-farming or like any business opportunity that you're working with in your business, consistency is key. And if you're going to come in and be all over social media for a week while you're feeling really good about it, and then realize that you're maybe not getting the kind of engagement back that you'd expected, and then you drop off for another year and then come back in again, people will notice that. They're certainly not going to think any less of you. They'll continue to encourage you to post more because that's what everybody wants out of social media. But just make sure that you're consistent. Set reminders if it helps you to go in and make sure that you're engaging with people. The next most important thing that I want you guys to do on Instagram right now while you're watching this webinar is open up your Instagram app, go up here to these three little lines on your profile, then click down here on settings and click switch to a business account. This is the most important thing that you can do on Instagram. Trust me when I say that nobody is going to know that you have changed your profile from a personal account to a business account. They basically look the same. There's a couple of minor differences, but they're only usually visible from your end. So have no concerns about what happens to your account. Nothing changes. You don't lose any posts. You don't lose your comments. You don't lose anything. The brilliance of switching to a business account gets you what we call insights and analysis as to what's happening with your posts and the engagements that you're getting on your posts. So you can see that option up here. You'll only see that when you have a business account set up. You'll be able to go over here to insights, and we'll take a look at that of what that looks like on the next slide. But I really want to drive it home that there is nothing, there are no risks, there are no concerns, there is nothing to be lost by switching over to a business account. And you can switch back to a personal profile anytime you want with absolutely no changes to your personal profile or your no losses to your profile whatsoever. So literally nothing to be lost. Go do this right now if you haven't already. Switch to a business account. Taking a look at what your insights can possibly provide for you is exceptional. So this allows you a really, really deep dive into the impact that your posting and your engagement on social media has with your immediate audience. There is a whole new webinar that we could host just on how to read these analytics and how to make them work in your business. But for the most part, turn it on, just start watching it over the next couple of weeks as you post and learning what kind of analytics are available to you. It will take you some time to build up really reliable analytics in terms of what your posting habits are like and how they are engaging, but this can be super helpful for you in determining what your social media strategy is going to look like. You're going to be able to determine at a glance what the average age range of your audience is. So obviously on my profile, I'm gearing to a lot of people that are around my age without divulging how old I am. And I'm able to see that I also have a significant audience in the younger generation. And we know that Instagram tends to be geared towards a bit of a younger generation rather than an older. But I can also see that I've got a pretty significant audience in the 45 to 54-year-old range, and even older than that as well. So I need to keep that in mind when I'm posting on my profile. I'm also able to see when the more active times of my audience is. I'm able to look per day, and I definitely know that weekends, especially open houses between 2 and 4 in a more quieter market, can be a really active time for realtors to be on social media. The majority of my audience I know is other realtors rather than potential clients or customers who are looking to buy or sell a home. So I tend to gear my posts more directly towards realtors than I do to the general consumer. But this can can be really, really handy to be able to identify that a prime time for me to be posting is on Saturdays and Sundays, in the middle of the afternoon, because I get a lot of engagement there. And also apparently at 9 p.m. on Saturdays. So all of you realtors are preparing to wake up early on a Sunday morning and not staying out late on Saturday. So that's pretty good as well.
So there's a couple of things that I want to mention here in terms of it, because some people are asking about, they're getting different verbiage. And one thing I highlighted in the chat is just saying, keep in mind Sandra's showing iOS. On Android, it might be a little different, but you'll see if you go into your settings, you should have an option. Mine says add a business account, which does the same thing. Actually, when you click on that, you'll see it brings you, it actually then turns to create a business account. And that actually ties into a good question, I think, that I had here, and that is, should you connect your Instagram to your Facebook? And that's coming from Stacy Kelly. I don't have a moment to see where she's coming from, but let me see here. She is with Royal LePage Benchmark. So just what do you think about that in terms of connecting accounts?
So I believe, I haven't done this in a while, so I could be wrong on this, but I believe in order to convert your Instagram account to a business account, it must be connected to a Facebook business page. If you weren't already aware, Facebook does own Instagram, so the two platforms are relatively closely connected. Should you connect it? Yes, absolutely you should. Does that mean that you should be cross-posting every Instagram post to your Facebook business page and vice versa? Absolutely not. I'm a huge proponent of making sure that you are using each individual platform differently, because they were meant to be used differently. One of my biggest pet peeves in social media, and Mike, I don't know if you'd agree with me here, is the people that use a platform like Hootsuite, or they take a post and they just automatically cross-post it to like 7 different platforms. And in reality, chances are, your entire audience is probably on at least 2 of the platforms and following you on 2 of those platforms, if not all of them. So you don't want to over inundate them with the same content, because that ends up making it redundant and they end up not engaging. And of course, not engaging with your content means that you fall off their algorithm, so that when you do post, your posts aren't appearing in that person's feed. So social media one-on-one, the more that you engage with somebody, the more frequently their posts are going to appear in your feed. And this is part of that sort of artificial intelligence that social media is quite famous for and infamous for in some minds as well. So the easy answer to that question is yes, connect it to your Facebook account, but do not cross-post. At least don't cross-post everything that you're posting to both platforms.
And the other question, when you get into the Instagram, a couple of people are just asking about how do they get to the Insights page. So when you get into showing us some stuff, hopefully you can show us, here's where you go to get that.
I absolutely will. Yeah. So you can easily see that here, and I'll show you a demo of that. In fact, let's flip over to my phone right now, and I'll just, so this is a screen view of my phone here. I'll just minimize this so it's less confusing. So this is a screenshot of my phone. I'm sorry, I've got this little thing that's sort of blocking the way there, but that's it is what it is. So when you're looking at your Instagram page, when you first load up Instagram, you're probably going to see your feed, which is this, and you're going to be able to scroll through, look at all of the posts from people on your feed. And then if you want to be able to look at your insights, the easiest way to get there is down here on the bottom, you'll see your own little profile photo on the bottom. If you touch that, it takes you to your own Instagram profile page. From here, you've got a couple of ways of being able to get to your insights. You can click on an individual photo. So I posted this of my family yesterday, and you'll see an image down, or a link down here that says View Insights. And if you tap that, it will load up basic insights for that particular post. And if you swipe up, you're able to see the details of those insights on that particular post. So I'm able to see that I had 503 impressions of this post. Most of them saw it from their feed or from their homepage. Some people are actually following the Canada's Wonderland location, so they are able to see, I'm able to see that down there 12 people saw this post because I posted it from Canada's Wonderland. And people actually tapped to look at my profile 4 times as a result of this post. So these are some of the analytics that you can see. In terms of looking at the overall analytics from your profile, again, go back over here to your main screen or your profile screen, and these 3 lines that are up here at the top, if you touch that, that's where you get to your settings. And I hope that this is relatively similar on devices that aren't iPhones. You can let us know in the comments if there's anything getting there from your Android.
It is exactly the same.
Okay, and then once you touch that, this little menu slides over from the right-hand side, and you can see here that I've got a bunch of options. Once you've converted over to a business account, Insights is right up here on the top. And if you were to touch that, that's going to take you to your generic insights, and you're able to scroll through here and take a look at what's happening with your account.
Now, one thing that other people have commented on also is you do need a certain amount of followers. It looks like about 100 followers in order to get that insight, because Facebook and Instagram, obviously with all the privacy things that are happening, and Facebook has always kind of been this way. But the good thing is, if you do some of the stuff that Sandra talks about later in this webinar, what she shows you, you'll start getting there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more content you have, the more engaging you are, the more people you're going to have following you. One of the questions that I got from a friend of mine that I was talking to the other night was, she asked, when somebody follows you, is it proper etiquette to follow them back? And I would say on Instagram, no etiquette exists. I wouldn't say that it would be impolite nor polite to neither follow or choose not to follow people. One of the great things about Instagram is that a lot of this stuff is kind of anonymous. So people can follow you, and they won't really know that you're not following them back unless they actually go in and look at their list of unfollowers. With that being said, there's a couple of third-party apps that you can download that actually monitor this stuff for you. I'd look into that more as you become a more experienced user in Instagram. But for the most part, nobody expects you necessarily to immediately follow them back if they've decided to give you a follower. I know I've got a couple of my more experienced Instagram friends that are following this webinar, and I know that they're probably saying, but there's tons of accounts out there that will do that follow-unfollow game. And yeah, that's true. Those would be the type of accounts that I wouldn't necessarily say are truly valuable to your message out to your actual audience, or the people that are only following you specifically because they want to increase their own followers and they expect to follow you back. And if you don't follow them back, then they'll unfollow you. Don't worry about those people, because they are not your ideal audience. They are not your ideal customer, and they're probably never going to intend to call you for their real estate needs or to refer you to somebody else in their database. So once you have access to these analytics, make sure that you're checking them on a regular basis, because if you even minutely change the consistency or the style in which you're posting from your Instagram account, that can have a significant impact on what you're seeing here. And these kinds of things, as you start to watch them a little bit more frequently, you're going to be able to see which posts do extremely well in your feed and which posts do less well in your feed. So, you're able to see that, a reach for something that's a bigger life event may have more engagement from them than a business post would be. That doesn't mean that you should be posting business less. It just means that you want to continue to be posting some of the things that do have a great reach or a great engagement in order to be able to continue to stay active in the algorithms of the people that follow you. And of course, making sure that you have a firm understanding of who your audience is so that you can make sure that your posts are directly geared towards that audience is really going to help increase your followers, increase your engagement, and make sure that you're top of all of the algorithms of the people that follow you. Do you have anything to add on that, Mike? Because I know that you're relatively active on Instagram as well. Anything to add here?
No, I'm not relatively active on Instagram, so
you are. I follow you.
I do things from time to time, but nothing compared to you. I have nothing to add. I have a couple questions, but I'm going to save those questions because I think some of that stuff you're going to get into. So I'm going to save some of these questions that I have for right now.
Okay, so I'll pop back over to my slide deck. Let's talk a little bit about content. So there's an Instagram guy out there. He's got, I think, over 1 million followers. He's a business guy. His name is Lewis Howes, if you haven't ever heard of him. He has this claim of having a process where you can get 10,000 followers really quickly by following his process. And it's a little bit overrated. I've had a conversation with my friend James Lewis about this, and he agrees. He's a little bit overrated. Not a lot of meaty content if you were to follow him. But what I did get out of what he said is what I want to share with you guys. And the reason why I had that big lead up is because I need to accredit this part of it to Lewis Howes. Three things to keep in mind when you're looking to create content for Instagram is the 3 S's, what Lewis Howes calls the 3 S's, which is serve, share, and sell. Obviously, your audience is the only reason why you're posting on Instagram. You're not posting on Instagram for yourself. You're posting on Instagram to share things with the people that follow you on Instagram. So keeping in mind these 3 S's can really help you increase your engagement, push your engagement through the roof, increase your followers, and make sure that you're always providing really good content to your audience. So when we're talking about serve, we're talking about inspiring, motivating, entertaining, and educating your audience. You want to make people feel good. This can be anywhere from cat videos to maybe life hacks. It could be quotes and memes to increase motivation and inspiration. Anything that's going to make somebody stop and go, yeah, I like that. That's powerful. That makes me feel good. So anything from like a motivational statement, maybe over to a funny cat video that you saw that you wanted to share. So anything like that is you serving your audience. And that's a really, really key thing that you need to make sure that you are including into all of your content that you're putting on social media. The second S that I want to talk about is sharing. Make sure that you're developing that connection with your audience. Make sure that you're portraying yourself as being authentic and you're showing a little bit of your personality. So this is the concern that I think a lot of people have with social media, that they don't want to be posting pictures of their dinner plate all the time, or they don't want to be showing pictures of their children because they're a little bit more personal than that and they don't like exposing their lives on social media. Absolutely. This isn't about exposing your personal life on social media. I'm not expecting you guys to, display your address or your home garden for everybody to see, or to really be exploiting your personal life just to be able to share, to be authentic. For example, if you were to follow somebody like Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's a big proponent of this, and I'm not a huge fan of Gary Vee. I find him to be a little bit crass and lacking class, actually. But there's a lot of truth in what he says. And Gary Vee has such a massive following, and he's known as being a social media expert for business owners. Like, that's what he's known for. That's where he makes his billions of dollars. And he will remind you regularly that there are no pictures of his children or even his wife really anywhere on social media. He doesn't talk about his kids. He doesn't share when his kids graduate from, whatever grade they're in. I don't even know how old his kids are. I don't even know how many kids he has. He shares nothing about his personal life. All he's doing is sharing how he contributes to his audience in terms of his business expertise. And you guys as realtors have a really great opportunity to show a lot of your personality and that you're a real person. You're a human being. You've got maybe a sense of humor, or you've got, a penchant for luxury properties, or, you're a dog lover, and you're able to take all of this that makes you unique and authentic and share it on social media to make a connection, a human and emotional connection with the people that are following you. So it's not just about posting your listings or advertising an open house. It's a little bit about that. We'll talk about that in the next S, but it's a lot about who you are. I used to get great engagement when I was selling real estate by taking a picture of something really cool that I saw during a showing. I went into a house in Georgetown once that had, the teenager had this wall of small aquariums full of tarantulas. And it was the coolest and creepiest thing in the world. And I took a picture of it and I posted it on social media. And the engagement that I got was great. I'm not selling anything. They're looking at that going, oh, Sandra's out showing a buyer houses to buy. And these are some of the cool things that she sees when she's out and about. And this is her reaction to that. It passively reminds people that you're active in the real estate workplace, and also that you see really cool things over the course of your business. So that's what sharing is all about. It's not about showing pictures of your kids or about, showing your address or anything personal about your life that you really want to keep personal and offline. But it is about talking about how you equate with your real estate business and yourself as a personality. Show your charm. Show how awesome of a person you are, because your audience that follow you on Instagram wants to see that. The third S in the 3 S's of Instagram is the sell. And this is more of a passive sell, because we all know that in today's day and age, especially on social media, nobody wants to be pitched. We're bombarded with advertisements and people talking about how amazing and awesome they are all the time. You don't necessarily want to be lumped in with one of those people. You want to be able to stand out. So this definitely is a passive sell, but use this opportunity if you're doing the serving and the sharing really well, you're staying high on people's algorithms and their feeds, to throw in your listings every once in a while. But throw in your listings not in just a, hey, come check out my new 4-bedroom detached and watered down for $650,000. It's, hey, look at what's really awesome about this house that I have up on the market. Use it as an opportunity to display the uniqueness of that listing, not just that you have another listing. Look how awesome you are. How many listings do you have? You're so busy. Oh my gosh. That's not what you're using social media to sell. You're using social media to show the uniqueness and the specialness of that particular property and that particular listing and how important it is to you and your business. Does some of that make sense, Mike? Do we have any questions coming in?
I think you've answered some of the questions that people have asked. So, I mean, we had a question about mixing personal and professional. We had a question about kind of a few people mentioned Rebecca Aitken from Real Page Kelowna was talking about kind of hitting a plateau. And same with Todd Habacost, who said, I reached 100 fairly quickly, but can't get past 150. And this is where, if you start thinking about your posts in these ways and kind of how you're mixing this stuff up, is how you'll start getting other followers as well.
Exactly. So I see a ton of realtors out there that are only posting their open houses that are coming up on the weekend, the new listings that they've got coming out, and that's all they're posting. They're not posting anything else. I do a 2-day business planning course here in Toronto with the corporate brokerage. And one of the things that we talk about in that business planning course is, right now, while you're sitting in this business planning course, take a picture of your binder and post that on social media to say, hey, look, I'm always learning. I'm having a really good time planning my business for the next 2 years in the real estate industry. That's some of the things that would, incorporate being in this serving and in this sharing, because you're inspiring other people to continue their education. And you're talking about how you are always looking at ways to increase your business, do better, be better. And you're sharing a little bit of an insight or like a behind the scenes of what it's like to be Sandra Kirkland realtor or Melanie Aitken realtor. These are definitely the things that you want to be able to give an inside behind the scenes look at your business. And it is not about showing pictures of your children if you don't want it to be that personal. But if you do, great. I mean, for those of you, I think I've got a whole bunch of new followers that have just started following me since we started this webinar. You'll see that my family is very open on social media, and we make sure that we are in agreement between my husband and I about how much we want to share about our daughter, and we'll make sure that our daughter is well educated growing up, and we're okay with that. But you don't have to be. It's not about giving an insight into your personal life. It's about giving an insight into the behind the scenes look at being you as a realtor in your local marketplace. So when we talk about stalling and not being able to get any new followers, changing what you share can help with that. Engaging and making sure that you are commenting on and liking other posts in the feed and in the people that you follow can also increase that. And we'll talk a little bit more as we get towards the end as well about hashtags and how you can increase your following and your engagement using hashtags as well. But the sell, again, make sure that your feed is not overwhelmed by the sell. And it's not just how many listings you've got out or congratulating people that have just bought a home. People can read through that. They know you're bragging. It's not about that. Make sure that you're putting that personal spin on it to show that instead of saying, congratulations to my buyer who just bought a 2-bedroom condo in the heart of Square One, it's not about that. It's about the uniqueness of that particular instance. Instead, maybe you want to actually tag your buyers with their permission, of course, and say, it's been so great working with this young couple who have bought their first condo in the heart of Square One, and just leave it at that. You don't have to end it with a, if you or someone you know has a need for real estate, call me at blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows you're selling and nobody wants to be pitched. Instead, give the accolade to your buyers. It's been so great working with this young couple who are so excited to be moving into their first condo in the Square One area. That would be a different way of being able to sell and showing that you're still out there and you're working. Does that make a lot of sense, Mike?
I was on mute. Yes. Yeah, 100%. But that's it. I mean, I'll tell you, I've had conversations with realtors for years, and they say, is it okay for me to post a picture of having a beer on a Friday? And I said, well, are you a human being? Like, yes. I said, if you do it Monday through Friday, we got an issue, right? If that's all you do, we got an issue. But if all you do is all business, I always say, go to a party and just tell people about your open houses, tell people about the listings. who's going to want to talk to you, right? You got to be interested in them. You got to share a little bit of who you are. And I always say, if it's something that's really core to your beliefs, and like, let's say, for instance, I was, completely against alcohol, and I don't want to work with people who drank alcohol. Well, then me saying in my post that, this is my thing and this is what I do is not going to hurt me, because those people are not my target audience anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think many Royal LePagers know who our good friend Jerry Allenbach is over in Edmonton. Jerry does a great job at making sure that he's networking with realtors in Royal LePage across the nation, and he's such a great guy. And he's an excellent educator on self-branding and how you can, identify with even an inanimate object and how it be, like an extension of your personality. And for a while, Jerry was known as the Baconator. Bacon was part of his personal branding. He loved it so much. He had this ingenious idea where he would fry up a pound of bacon every year, take a picture of each individual piece of bacon, and then throw it on social media and say, vote for which piece of bacon becomes the shape of my business card for the next year. Like it was absolutely ingenious. And I asked him once, do you find that you are alienating, vegans or people that don't eat pork, or, anybody who maybe is offended by your seemingly, drastically innate connection with bacon? And he said, yeah, but that's okay, because I don't feel that anybody actually hates me for it. And those are the type of people that I may not have a personable relationship with anyway. If they can't appreciate my love of bacon, then, they may not be my ideal client. And that's okay. So, further to your point, Mike, if you do need to show what your core values are, because it can be important for you to identify your ideal client. And we shouldn't be going out there trying to be a jack of all trades or trying to be the best realtor to every single person, because that's just impossible. It absolutely is impossible. So yes, absolutely, you should be showing a little bit about your personality and what your likes and your dislikes are, because that will draw people to you a lot more naturally than they would if you were just, stoic and bland and, didn't want to set out to offend anybody, right?
Vanilla, right?
Yeah, and not a lot of, maybe you've got a niche market in being vanilla, sure. But with that being said, you also don't want to go to the farthest extreme. Like I've seen realtors entirely alienate themselves because they're self-proclaimed Trump supporters, and that's all well and good if you are. Like I have no problem with that whatsoever. But they get so caught up in being angry and political on social media that they actually develop a larger group of haters than they do having a larger group of supporters. So just make sure that when it comes to controversial issues or political issues, that you may want to be aware of what you're posting and how that could potentially grow a group of haters against you. But again, if that's the only type of person that you want to work with, or the people that align in those same core values with you in that controversial issue, then by all means, if that's what you want to do, then by all means.
Now I have a couple questions just before we move on. And I do want to move on because we are getting 2:40. So we got, and I want you to show the Instagram, but I have a couple quick questions I think you can answer. Number one is just about the 3 S's. Should they be applied in specific proportions? 4 serve, 3 share, 2 sells in a 9-day period.
That's a really tough question to answer. I think that at least just start that you should be doing 30% of each, certainly. And then I think what you should be doing is very carefully watching your analytics. I find that even though my primary audience is realtors, I find that I get a far more engagement with my personal, talking about my daughter, talking about my personal life and my husband. I get far more of an engagement with that than I do with the business posts. So actually, I've tend to sort of switched a little bit more into posting personal stories because my audience is more interested in that. But your audience is going to be entirely different than mine. And each of you out there watching today, your audiences are all going to be very different from each other's. So I would suggest starting with trying to remain on a 33% or a 30% equality for each of the 3 S's, and then watch your analytics and see what works for you. See what kind of engagement you're getting from things. You may want to lean a little bit heavier on 1 or 2 of the S's over all 3 of them equally.
And then the other question I have, which I think, again, it'll be a quick question for you, but it's coming from Todd Habacost again. I'm focusing on selling the Savory Islands in BC and the properties on it. And he says, I never put myself in the pictures. Is that a good idea or a bad idea? What do you think about that one?
I think it depends on your comfort level.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be in them, that's okay. I would encourage you to try and take a couple of selfies with maybe one of the really stunning views that you must be having out there. Man, I wish I sold real estate out there. That would probably be gorgeous to go to work every day. But maybe you want to take a selfie with you with some beautiful mountain view in the background, or one of the beautiful forests that you have out there, and scenery, and just, it's great to be alive. And you've got this, it's too bad you can't see me right now because I look like an idiot holding a fake cell phone in front of myself and smiling. But maybe you want to try and do one of those every once in a while just to see if that increases your engagement and your audience appreciates that. And maybe you don't. It really is all about your comfort level. I mean, people do want to see you, because that helps to inject some of your own personality into it, but work with your own comfort level. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's walk through some of this Instagram screens you want to share with us.
Yeah, so I'm going to skip ahead because wow, it's 2:40. I can't believe I talked so much. It's unreal. So I am going to skip ahead a little bit, but just talking a little bit about Lewis Howes, I wanted to give you an example because, of course, he does this really well. A good person to follow, by the way, especially because of how much he owns Instagram. You can see he's got 1.2 million followers and he posts very frequently. Also provides a lot of advice on how to increase engagement on your social media, which is good. But this is a good example of the 3 S's that he has here on this screen. So, his tweets that he retweets and, little sort of anecdotes here about this is the motivation and the inspiration. This is the serving aspect of his feed. And then his sharing, this is a picture of him with his wife. So he is comfortable sharing a little bit of his own personal successes. Here's him doing what it looks to be a pride run, and he's getting a lot of engagement on these things. So if I touch on that, you can see that he's got 14,400 likes for this. And he is talking about pride, which is great. And going back to his profile. And then, of course, the sell, what you need to know about this is about success. And this is a little video and a link to his IGTV video where you can watch about that. So this is a little bit of the sell. In this video, he'll talk a little bit about, hey, go to my website, click this link, subscribe to my feed, and learn more about how to increase your Instagram engagement. And that's what Lewis is known for. So this is a pretty good example of the differentiation between the 3 S's if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about this. With that being said, I do want to skip forward to what I've got here. I've mentioned my friend James Lewis a couple of times. James has created a 30-day Instagram calendar. So for those of you that are, really drawing a blank on what kind of content to put on social media, this kind of calendar is an excellent way of being able to get some easy ideas to get started on Instagram, especially for those of you that are new. In fact, he even starts with an introduction on day 1. Show a picture of yourself and do a quick video, 20-second video even, of just saying, hey, I'm Sandra Kirkland, real estate broker here in the West GTA area. I've been in the business for 10 years, really loving what I'm seeing on Instagram, and I'm so excited to be here and provide you guys with awesome content. Follow me, share me, looking forward to engaging with you guys. Thanks. And that would be it. That it just, really off the cuff, really easy for you to be personable. It doesn't have to be scripted. In fact, you don't want it to be scripted. This is a really excellent calendar. I've experimented with this a couple of times and I've shared it with a number of my realtors who've gotten excellent engagement and growth from following a calendar like this. Feel free to change some things around. If there's some things here that don't fit into what you want to be able to share, replace it with something else. As you move through this in the first couple of days, you're going to start to come up with your own ideas of things that you want to post. But something like this, and there's tons of them out there. So if you don't like this one, go ahead and search for, real estate Instagram content suggestions. And if you Google that, there's a ton of calendars that can come up, but this is a really, really great place to start. So feel free to screen cap this. If you want the PDF version, Mike, I'll share it with you so everybody can reach out to Roy LePage. You can actually follow James in the City at the James in the City. I'll show a link for him later on at the end of the webinar. Reach out to James as well for a copy of this calendar, and I've got a copy as well that I'm happy to share. In terms of where you want to post this kind of content, do you post this in your feed? Do you post this in your stories? Do you post this in your IGTV? Oh my God, what is all of this stuff? Let's talk a little bit about that next. There's 3 different ways to be able to post on Instagram. Most commonly is your feed. And if I flip back over to my Instagram, what my feed is, or what your feed is when you're looking at it, is if you hit the home icon on the bottom of your Instagram down here, that's you looking at all of the people that you've chosen to follow and going through your feed. This is all, oh, thanks homegirls.ca for mentioning me in your story. Greatly appreciate it. I love that. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Scrolling through your feed and seeing all of the posts from all of the people that you follow is really what your feed looks like. So when you want to post to your feed, you click this little icon down here that's a square with a plus sign. And when you click on that, it's automatically going to load your photo library, and you're going to be able to choose from your photo library. You're also going to, if you wanted to actually take a live photo, then you could click here on photo down here, which would take you automatically to your camera. So I'm able to show you this is what my office looks like. I can take a picture right now with my phone, or if I wanted to take a video, I would tap on video down here at the bottom, and then I could take a video. The videos in your feed are limited to 60 seconds. So if you're going to take a video to post on your feed, make sure that you're able to say what you want to say in less than a minute. This is the newborn baby. This baby is 9 weeks old, belonging to my realtor, Chris Bridges, that's here in the office. And I was lucky enough to have him bring his daughter in so I could hold her this morning. And this was a very special moment for me. So I took a selfie of that, and I may want to post that now on my social media. So once I've selected that, up here on the top, there's a next button, and I'm going to hit next. This is going to give me the option to edit the photo. It's really, really easy to take a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds just to be able to scroll through all the various built-in filters that Instagram has down here and choosing one that makes you look like you have the nicest complexion in the world. Some of them make you look terrible. This one's okay. I kind of like this one. If you want to edit it even more, you can actually go down and hit the edit button down here at the bottom and really play around with some of the levels that Instagram has to offer for you. So maybe I want to make this feel a little bit warmer. I can touch that, and I can change the slider, and you can see how that changes the quality of the picture. So lots of options that you can do here with all the different options. For those of you that see pictures in your feed that have a very clear center and a very blurry outside, that's this one here called tilt shift. So if I tap on tilt shift, I'm able to select the radial or the linear, and then I can focus right in by pinching and focus right in on this baby. Move that in nice and small, and then everything else around it looks blurry so that you're really only focusing on the baby. That's kind of the easy way to do some really quick editing to some of your photos, and I love playing around with some of these options. There's a ton of third-party apps that do this even better and even more awesome. Once you get advanced, you'll find out what some of those things are on your own, but this is a really great way to add some nice editing to some of your pictures. When you're done, you hit done, and then at the top up here, go up to next again, and that moves you into actually posting. This is where you write a caption. So up here, when you tap, you're able to type whatever you want up in here. I'm not going to post this because I want to take the time to write something a little bit more meaningful and actually tag Chris in my post, but this is where I would type. For those of you that have been on Instagram for a while, you probably know that there is no enter key. You can see down here, I can't actually skip a line, but if you hit this 1, 2, 3 button here, it does give you the option. You can see down there that I've got a return button now. And if I hit return, I can skip through lines. Instagram still hates blank lines. So if you want to use the return button, make sure that you just put a period, type return again, and then that will allow you to put a line break in. I suggest that when you're writing posts like this, you write maybe a paragraph. I wouldn't suggest doing something too long unless it's a really, really high impact post. Write a paragraph. Really glad to have met Chris's new baby girl here in the office today. It was a real pleasure getting to hold a baby, whatever else you want to write. Then I would do a return, and I would do a period and another return. And then here's where I'm going to start writing in my hashtags. Oh, that's a really nice angry hashtag that popped up there with a swear word. Sorry for that for anybody that's offended by adult language. As soon as you hit a hashtag, you may want to type in a word, and it may narrow down the type of hashtags that you could potentially apply into that particular post. So let's say, for example, that you've gone out to your local mom and pop bakery, you've had a really fresh croissant, and you've taken a picture of that croissant with your coffee. You want to be able to tag some of the local hashtags in order to be able to reach that particular audience. I'm not going to go into great detail about hashtags because we are running out of time, and there's a whole bunch of more stuff that I want to be able to talk about. Maybe what we should do, Mike, is do a really quick webinar at some point soon actually on hashtags, because that's a whole new webinar and a whole rabbit hole that you can sink down in getting the most out of hashtags. Would that make sense? Can we do that?
We might have to do a follow-up, it looks like.
Okay, perfect. So I'm actually going to skip back out of this post, and I'm going to discard that post. And
just a quick question in terms of that. Some people just ask, like, why put the period there?
Because Instagram doesn't allow you to have empty line breaks. So if I go down and scroll through some of these posts, hopefully I can find one on the go. So let's look at this one. Meanwhile in Ireland, I love to follow these guys. They're really funny because people in Ireland are hilarious. So taking a look at this, they've written, gotta love this. This would only happen in Ireland. Instagram doesn't like to have empty line breaks. So if they didn't put these periods here, then these hashtags would actually appear right in here. And if you've got a lot of text or a lot of hashtags, you may want to separate it just for aesthetic purposes. Yeah. So that's why we want to be able to use periods in the line breaks. Does that answer the question?
100%. And then, so I think it's where you're going, but also the question around, like, well, I see people with like text and, little animations and stickers and GIFs in it. How do I do that?
So going into your feed, there isn't really a lot of opportunity to use GIFs in your feed. That's kind of a complicated process in using a third-party app to do that. But GIFs are awesome in your stories. So if you scroll up to the top of your feed, you'll see a whole bunch of these circles up here at the top with people that you follow with this little Instagram colored circle around them. That's the Instagram story. So just jumping back here quickly, the stories are more directly geared right to your audience. They have way more of an impact. They're shareable if you tag people in them. So if you tag somebody, like if you were to tag me, I'll have the option of really quickly sharing that back to my story and therefore to my audience. And it can reach a broader audience that way. So when we go back into my Instagram here, when you see these things up here, these are stories. So I'm able to go to Sarah Kelke, for example, who's a realtor that I know out west, and she is now, obviously you can see she's using GIFs in these stories. She's talking about some of the things that she's doing with her work. She also has some personal stuff in here. So this is her daughter losing a tooth. This is a brand new horse that she has a horse farm. This is a brand new horse that was recently born on a horse farm. So this is her story. So to quickly post to your stories, I'm going to X out of here. On the top up here, you've got a little camera, and if you type that camera, then your video camera is automatically going to open. You can take some video, so let's take some video here. This is me doing a webinar with Royal LePage Learning Services on Instagram, and you can see the little circle is increasing over there. When I'm done, I've got this video here. Now, what I want to do is add some GIFs, and Royal LePage actually has their own GIFs. Maybe you want to do a quick video of you and your new listing. Check out this new listing I have coming to the market soon. Up here, this little sticker button, if you touch that, it gives you a whole bunch of options here. This is where you see these things that are appearing on people's posts. You've got the sliding heart icon. You can ask questions. You can ask a quiz, countdown. Most importantly here, if you tap this GIF button, you can see a whole bunch of these moving icons, and you can scroll through all of these moving icons. But really cool, if you type in the search bar at the top, Royal LePage, you get to see all of the Royal LePage GIFs that we have to offer, which is totally awesome. You're able to select one of these, this moving for sale sign. You can make it bigger, and you can move it around anywhere you want on your screen, and put in the Royal LePage icon there to show that you're part of the best real estate brand in Canada. So there's a whole bunch of options here for you. Again, we should probably do another webinar that's specifically on using some of these awesome options in your stories, but make sure that you're using the location. Make sure you're tagging local locations. Make sure that you're mentioning the people that you're talking about, because that gets exposure to their audience and their database as well. We should definitely do a follow-up and advanced tips and tricks on Instagram, I think, Mike, because I need to move on pretty quickly here.
Yeah, and that ties into some of the questions that I have coming in, actually, in terms of that, is saying, like, recommendations tagging other businesses to be featured on their page. I had one question come in from Gino, and Gino, he's from Royal LePage Real Estate Services Limited in Oakville, so maybe you can reach out to you. But he's just saying, he's using Instagram. His goal is to use Instagram to better connect with high-profile influencers and use those relationships to promote his business. So he's looking for insights around that.
Yes, it's about time that we reconnected anyway. So Gino, reach out to me and let's meet up and talk about that, because I got some excellent ideas for that.
And we'll have to do a webinar where we share that with everybody else, right?
Yes. I mean, everybody loves to be tagged. At the end of the day, the easy answer to that is everybody loves to be tagged. So if you're at a local coffee shop and they have an Instagram, post that you're there and tag them. They love that. They'll probably reshare it, which means your post gets shared to their network. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the reason why we are all here on Instagram together. So definitely do that. Yeah. I'm totally going to skip IGTV.
Well, can you just show, because I think in your Instagram, it's kind of hidden away. And I had a couple of people ask about what it was. So I think it's important just to show where you can find it. And you can see up at the very top right of the screen there, there's it's that little icon there. So, I'd say go into that, go have a look at that.
You definitely should have a look at that. So if you tap on that little TV screen, it goes to IGTV. Generally, it is most of the influencers that are using this, but there's a gigantic opportunity for anybody that's already successful in Instagram to break into the IGTV market. Basically, this allows you to post videos that are longer than a minute, because anywhere else on Instagram, you don't want to go too much longer than a minute. It doesn't allow you to in your feed, and in your stories, it can get really draggy if you do longer videos in your stories. This allows you to do, multiple minutes of actually doing like a TV show. This is more for education, more for providing really, really valuable content to people that are going to sit there for 3 to 15 minutes and be able to listen to something really important that you have to say and to share. So I would suggest that for those of you just getting started on Instagram, scroll through your feed right now, use your feed, use your stories, and then just watch Instagram for a little while. And its purpose for you will become apparent as you get more proficient in the rest of Instagram.
Yep.
Okay. So feed story, IGTV, going back quickly to James's calendar, for example, you'll know yourself what you feel comfortable putting in your story and what you feel comfortable putting in your feed. You'll start to feel a lot more comfortable with this as you also follow your audience and see how they use it. You definitely want to be able to mimic and replicate a lot of what your audience is already doing, because that obviously increases your flow and allows you to fit in with your audience a little bit better. The secret to scoring on social media, and of course, hopefully you guys liked my little Raptors sort of interjection here. Go Raptors, of course. The secret to scoring on social media, you have an offensive strategy and a defensive strategy, and it's important to have both. Make sure that you're always venturing out for engagement, that you're posting frequently and consistently, making sure that you're exploring. And going back to my social media feed here, if you look down here at the bottom and go to this magnifying glass, making sure that you're exploring a lot of what, let me just get back here, a lot of what Instagram thinks is going to be relevant based on people that you already follow. So I follow a lot of influencers. So Marilyn and rock and roll, I love rock and roll. So Marilyn Manson shows up in my Explore all the time. Elon Musk is showing up in my Explore all the time. A lot of really big influencers and a lot of big business strategists will always show up in my feed. Women empowerment, new babies. My daughter loves Jojo Siwa, so you're going to see her in my feed a lot. A lot of these Explore, engage with them. Make sure that you follow, because you're not offending anybody by following somebody or by leaving a comment on one of their posts. When you're doing so, be genuine. You'll know yourself when you're looking at other people's feeds. If somebody comes in and says, got any real estate needs? Make sure that you call me. Nobody's going to call that person. So make sure that you're genuine and you're authentic in your personality on Instagram. Most important, comment, direct message people, reach out to people. They're on Instagram because they want to talk to you. Make sure that you're engaging with them and making sure that you're putting yourself out there as well. On the defense, anytime somebody reaches out to you, reply. If somebody mentions you in their story, thank them for that and then reshare their story. Make sure that you're liking and you're responding to every comment that's left on your posts. Reach out to them in direct message, comment back to them, say thank you. It's really nice to hear from you. Let's connect for a coffee. Be genuine and always make sure that you're monitoring your insights. I was sort of talking a little bit at the beginning that, Instagram is not a lead generation platform. Very few people are able to lead gen specifically from Instagram. It is part of a bigger vision of your own self-promotion, your own brand development and brand promotion, and your business development. So feel free to screen cap this as well, so that you can really take the time to analyze what your personal brand is and your business brand is, and make sure that you are being consistent with that across all of the platforms, whether that's your print advertising or your geo-farming flyers, whether that's your Facebook and your Instagram and your Twitter, whether it's how you present yourself at open houses. The last thing that people want is to be able to get an idea of who you are on social media and then meet you at an open house and find that you're a completely different person. That's why being authentic and being genuine is the most important thing that you can possibly do. Again, like I said, don't cross-post the same thing between multiple platforms. You'll even find that the resolution and the image size can be different, and then it gets cut off, and then you just kind of, look a little bit silly. Don't outsource also, because this is supposed to be a direct representation of your unique personality that a third-party marketing company cannot replicate on your behalf. However, there is also a lot of help out there for you, but this is definitely something that you need to do yourself. So one of the most important things why a lot of people joined into this webinar is to find out who to follow. The biggest educators and trainers that you can get into creating your own Instagram strategy is to follow the people that are already doing it right. Trust me, they're not going to be smirking or scoffing when they find that you, as a maybe, lesser Instagram influencer, are following these people. They want to be followed by you. They want to share with you. They want to engage with you. So in terms of real estate, these are some of my favorite real estate. It certainly isn't a limited list. There's hundreds of them, but these people I really think that you should follow. I wish I had more time to show you some of their feeds. Tom Story is here in the GTA region, and he is a social media expert. I love what he does on social media. Is of course a Royal LePager. Mike, you've got something to say about Tom?
Yeah, I mentioned to you earlier, but July 18th, Tom actually is going to be delivering a webinar for us. You can on 5 ways to make your phone ring for free. So we'll see what he's gotten there. And if you go to rlp.ca/training, you'll find all our webinars there. You just click on webinars at the top.
Perfect. And Tom Story and the Story team, you do Instagram absolutely amazingly. I really love what they do. He's also got a personal Instagram as well. So going back to talking about the difference between having, a business and a personal Instagram, I suggest sharing the two, or at the very least making sure that you're still very personable and friendly and a real person on your business profile as well as on your personal profile. But definitely follow this team because they use Instagram very, very well. I really love what they do. Another Instagram that I love to follow is Get on the Block. These guys are absolutely fantastic. I love what these guys do because they really have a style. So as you scroll through her feed, she has a color concept, she has a style, but she still injects a little bit of her personality into it. There's a video of her daughter. There's the other partner of the Get on the Block real estate. These guys are really awesome in terms of creating a style and a theme and a trend. Definitely worth following as well. So be sure to follow Get on the Block. Dusty J. Baker is $1 million real estate agent from HGTV from the States. He's really awesome to follow. He's got a massive following, and he really posts some of the awesome stuff that he gets to do on a regular basis. Going back here, inspiration in business, of course, everybody loves Ryan Serhant. He's got a lot of really cool stuff that he posts about the behind the scenes of his business, which we all love to watch. Gary Vee, I've mentioned a couple of times. Mel Robbins is great for the women out there. She's really big into women empowerment and keeping control of your business. Tom Ferry, of course, top real estate coach. Richard Robbins is also really active on Instagram and has an amazing Instagram as well. Compass Real Estate, if you're running a brokerage or running a team, following Compass can give you some really good ideas on how to increase the brand awareness for your team and use that in a really personal way as well. And hashtags, as you're experimenting a little bit in greater detail with hashtags, following some of these, especially the Royal LePage ones, Helping You Is What We Do is an excellent hashtag. I love to follow that and engage with some of the realtors that like to use that slogan in their business. Following realtor, engage with some of your peers, follow new people. The best way that you can learn how to use Instagram for your business is to follow the people that already do it well. So you can find those guys really easily by following these hashtags. Making sure that you're also following your local hashtags. You probably have, for me out here in Mississauga, we've got Mississauga Real Estate. I follow that hashtag and always engage with realtors that are using that hashtag in their business. Follow those local hashtags because that can directly connect you with your immediate community that are using these hashtags in their regular everyday posting as well. Anything to add, Mike?
Well, I think I'm kind of thinking through this whole thing, and again, I'm going. We're gonna have to do more on this. We're gonna have to do deeper. It's so funny. We look at it. You had 11 slides. I was like, oh, but there's so much to talk about.
We have to do a series. I'm realizing that going through the last 65 minutes that we have to do a series, and I think we should.
And here's the one thing I want to say to everybody and I know some people had to leave, but what I want to say to the people on the webinar is, just go do this stuff. Don't wait, because here's what I'll tell you. Facebook, Instagram, they're all on my Facebook, right? They love changing stuff. And I cannot tell you how many times I see a realtor who goes, oh, how do I do that again? Like we showed, add a business. Just go do it. And the theme, if you look at everything that Sandra said, what you'll see is it's kind of like just try it, mix it up, try it, create a story. Have you done it? Create a story. Go look at what IGTV is. You can see a lot of times it's just clicking on the button. What does this button do? Try that stuff out. Do some posts. You never really know what's going to hit. I'll talk, Jerry, I remember talking to him about it. I said, how did you end up with this business or with this bacon thing? And he said he posted a thing about making some bacon weave that he made a little bowl out of bacon. And he said, something was getting all these likes and retweets. And he said, I just rolled with it. He didn't know when he was posting it was going to go huge and it was going to go, it was going to get significant, but it just got people interested. And he said, oh, let's just ride with it.
The vast majority of people I find that are influencers on social media, on any of the platforms, as you said, literally fell into it. They just started posting whatever, and then they watched to see what worked. And, a style and a flow fell out of what they were experimenting with. And let me promise you guys that nobody is ever going to look at what you're posting and go, oh my God, what a loser. Like, nobody is going to say that. Nobody's going to laugh at you. And if they do, then you don't want them in your network anyway.
Exactly.
Nobody is going to treat you poorly or embarrass you or make you feel like what you've posted is stupid. I promise you, nobody is going to do that. The only way I think that you can fail on Instagram is if the only thing that you're doing is selling, going, look at me and look at this house that I just sold and look at this house that I just sold and look at my new listing and come to my open house. That's the only way I think that you can misuse Instagram. But apart from that, you're right, Mike. Just go out, turn the camera on yourself and just talk and be able to laugh at yourself and be a little bit more comfortable about it, because your brand is going to naturally emerge and the followers will follow. Don't be worried about it. Just do it.
And at the same time, again, it doesn't cost you anything for a like. It's a couple taps. It doesn't cost you anything to comment on somebody's video. It's a couple moments. It doesn't cost anything for you to follow. Go follow all these people. And you know what? If after a while of following Tom Story, you're like, I don't know, he bores me. He might bore some people. He's not gonna, but he might. You know what I mean? But then you unfollow him, right?
Exactly.
So, have the open mind, go play around with it. I know some realtors who get really anxious and I don't want to do. But the reality is the people who are doing well are the people who go, I'm just going to do this and let's just see what happens. And like you said, nobody's paying that much attention where they're going to go, oh my God. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So take a picture of this webinar if you want to. I'll go back to this main screen. Take a picture of just the Instagram and the Royal LePage. Leave me out of it if you want. And post this on your story and be like, always learning. I'm so excited to be on the Instagram platform. Tag me. I'll reshare your post and then you'll be able to see what kind of engagement and exposure that you get just from that. I'm more than happy to do that for you to show you how that works. With that being said, I'll flip down to my thank you screen because we do have to wrap this up for those of you that are busy selling. Please reach out to me at any time. Connect with me on Instagram, DM me on Instagram, send me an email. I'm always happy to talk to each and every one of you about some of the tips and tricks that I've learned from listening to the masters that do this extremely well and do convert leads and business out of this. So I'll connect you with them. I'll tell you what I know. I want to share. Please reach out to me anytime. This is what I love to do. This is what I live for. So please reach out to me anytime.
And all right, so I'm going to wrap it up just for everybody. I shared a couple links. Again, rlp.ca/training. We actually have a couple really good webinars coming up. If you're looking for things to share next week, I have Kiki coming in from Genworth Canada to talk about the report on first-time home buyers. So if you're looking for some data and stuff to share, that might be one. And like I mentioned, we're going to be doing Canva. So you people want to know, how do I create these beautiful looking posts? Canva is an awesome tool to do that. And we're going to show you exactly how you can do that. As well as we got Tom Story coming in July. So if you want to experience more of him, follow him on Instagram, and then you can join us on the webinar.
I'm tuning in for that. I love Tom Story. I'm definitely tuning in for that.
Sweet. So rlp.ca/training. I always like to say thanks so much to everybody for tuning in. I know we went a little bit over time, but thanks everybody for tuning in. We're going to send out a recording as always. So, I know some people were asking about, can I receive some? We always send it out. And then I want to thank you again, Sandra, for your time, your dedication to delivering this kind of content. People love it, and you do it so well. So
thank you. Well, let's do a series and drill down a little bit more into these for these people, because getting them active on Instagram would be a huge career win for me. So let's do that.
Let's do it. Sounds good to me. All right, we'll talk. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. And we'll see you actually next week for, like I said, looking at an analysis of the first-time buyers with Genworth Canada.